Look at Kevin's body. You are not tolerated. Did I just violate the nature of a chair? You don't need birth control. You don't need gun control. You need self-control. I'm gay. All of us have something in our lives that we hate about ourselves.
What if I told you that chairs prove that being gay is sinful? You might laugh, but if you were a faithful Catholic like I was, you might remember this talk that now has over 1 million views. Father Mike Schmitz is a celebrity priest with a #1 podcast with tons of books out there. Catholics love this man. He is not fringe. I spent years as a card-carrying Catholic, as an apologist. I even met Father Mike in person. I went to college to pursue a degree in this type of theology. So today I want to debunk this talk that kept me in the closet for years. Let's jump into it.
None of what I'm going to talk about today has anything to do with tolerance.
Well, we're off to a fantastic start.
In the church, you are not tolerated by the church. Not only that, you're not accepted by the church. The truth of the matter is, you belong in the church.
So this is an hour-long talk, and Father Mike spends about the first 5 minutes talking about how he doesn't like the name of the talk because he doesn't believe in tolerance, because tolerance is something that you do to other people, but gay people belong in the church. I like the sentiment, but it's entirely vacuous. What he's saying is, you can feel gay, you just can't act on it. Now that we have the pleasantries out of the way, let's get into his actual argument.
God's plan for you as a human being is that your body and soul are together.
I don't get it. Could you provide me an example, Father Mike?
Could you come forward, please? Could everyone just look at Kevin's body?
I take it all back. I did not need an example. That was like weirdly creepy.
If you are your body, then what you do with your body matters.
Once again, nobody is saying that what you do with your body doesn't matter.
The nature of a thing is the what it isness of a thing.
What he's doing is laying out the idea of teloi or teleology, which is this Catholic understanding that everything in the universe has an invisible blueprint in it, and this tells us exactly what things can and can't be used for. Let's jump into how we can figure out God's hidden invisible rule book and everything. I think with chairs.
This chair is the nature of chair.
Okay.
What is a chair for? To sit upon. I am using the chair for the end with which it was created.
What he's doing here is setting up this worldview that everything, both things created by humans and all natural things, were created by God for a purpose, and that everything out there has this invisible, undetectable, unverifiable, secret rule book that if you cross, you go to hell. Can we empirically verify that things have teloi? No. Do we have a method to reliably test what teleology tells us? No.
This is to sit upon, this is to set things upon, but watch this. Wait for it. Oh! So, question, did I just violate the nature of a chair? I didn't violate the nature, I just used it for my own purposes.
No, you just put a cup on a chair and you're making it overly complicated.
What is this? I took a table and I propped up my car on the table to change the oil. Would I pretty quickly violate the nature of table? Yeah.
No. What does it mean to even violate the nature of a table? It's an incoherent sentence.
I can use it according to purposes that actually end up ultimately violating the very reason that it exists. Does that make sense?
No, that doesn't make sense, like, at all. What he's saying is that you can only use things for which they were created, otherwise you're violating the magical essence that is a screwdriver. The average person understands we can make descriptive, scientific claims about things, like if you drop a car on certain tables, they will break. People sit on tables. Those claims we can actually investigate. But if you somehow prop your car up on a table, this guy somehow thinks that it is a sin, or at the very least thinks that you're violating the nature of a table and God's gonna get mad or something like that.
Let's talk about sex.
Let's not, especially with you. But pray tell, good sir, what do chairs have anything to do with homosexuality?
Like, what is sex for? Just scientifically, just observing, what is it for? What's the purpose? The two what it is fornesses of sex is procreation and union, or another way to say it is babies and bonding.
What? No. Here's the hidden massive jump in his logic. Yes, biologists can make descriptive claims about biology. Sometimes some forms of intercourse lead to fertilization. People engaging in consensual contact report feeling closer to each other. But here's the big issue. He jumps from making descriptive claims to prescriptive moral absolutes that if you disobey, you will go to hell. We can say that certain types of sex sometimes lead to babies, but what he's about to reverse engineer is that then if you ever don't do that, it becomes sinful.
Let's talk about eating. This human act is for nourishment and for the pleasure you get from eating.
Can certain organisms digest certain foods? Yes. Do some people say they like certain foods? Yes, I'm all with you. But where is this going?
This is the next part. It's a little sensitive. Very sensitive, actually.
Weirdest trigger warning on planet Earth. We're about to talk about eating disorders.
Say someone who eats something for pleasure but doesn't want the nourishment, and so they make themselves throw it back up. Is that person violating the nature of eating? Yeah, you know that this hurts you. You know that this is one of those things where you're like, I feel so ashamed.
What the What do eating disorders have to do with being gay? First, eating disorders aren't sinful. Second, eating disorders don't violate invisible blueprints that when you break them, God punishes you. This is nonsense.
And if that's the case when it comes to food, how much even more so is that the case when it comes to sex?
Not at all, like not in the slightest. Talk to a psychologist about eating disorders. Nobody will tell you that the harm is that it offends God, so he sends down shame as punishment. Eating disorders can harm people because of unhealthy societal pressures, uncontrollable compulsions, distortion of one's image, and a number of other reasons. And we have evidence-based treatment to help people get better. But the DSM does not categorize being gay as a mental disorder, let alone any evidence-based treatment to stop being gay. In fact, every credible psychological association says that trying to change your sexuality and denying yourself is actually harmful.
You know, the church only basically says no to a couple things. One in particular is the genital sexual expression of affection.
What? That is an integral part about getting married, whether it's somebody of the same sex or the opposite sex.
There's no way that the genital sexual expression between two men or between two women meets the what it is forness. In fact, acting out on that is directly against the procreative element. And I can't act against it without disintegrating my own heart, my own life.
Says who? This is all just an assertion without any proof and without any means of investigating the claim that it violates the nature of sex. The thing that actually disintegrates the human person, according to actual research, is denying oneself, staying in the closet, trying to change one's sexuality, and hating themselves. That's what disintegrates the human person, not loving somebody. And just when you thought this train wreck of a talk could not get any worse, he's about to weaponize the story of his brother coming out to him.
I had to tell you something. Like, okay. Like, so, I'm gay.
Pop quiz, what is the correct response when somebody comes out to you?
What are you gonna do? You just shared with me an experience. You experience attraction to members of the same sex. That's all you told me.
The correct answer is not, what are you gonna do about it? Or use cult tactics to invalidate somebody's identity by just calling it an experience. Based off of that reaction, what do you think his brother thought growing up? Let's hear.
He would begin to let Jesus love him, and then he'd say, but no, you can't love me, because if people around me knew that this is my experience, then they wouldn't love me.
He thought that because he was right. The priest is making a very calculated and manipulative move here, and you're about to see exactly what I mean.
It just took until he was 27 to call me up and say, hey, we talk.
Yeah, I wonder why he waited until he was 27 to tell anybody.
But I guess I wish that I would have communicated in some way that if he wanted to, he could have told me earlier.
Thank you, Father Mike, for understanding the entire point of pride. Wearing a rainbow pin, talking to kids about inclusivity, having access to mental health support, vocalizing the fact that you're an ally. That's exactly how you could have let your brother know earlier that he could have came out. But he was right to be afraid of coming out. The next clip is what Father Mike says that his brother said to him, and I'll take sentences that were never said for 500.
Either you celebrate every decision I make, or you mean you hate me. It's like, that's not real.
And that sentence was not real. I will take my 500 points.
No good parent accepts every decision their child makes. We love you. We're gonna celebrate you. You don't have to agree with every decision you make.
This is exactly why I say Mike is being disingenuous and deceptive here. First of all, this entire framework presupposes being gay is wrong, so they can get away with this rebranding of love the sinner, hate the sin. Second, yes, I agree that parents have a role in helping their children weigh the pros and cons in making each life decision. In fact, your child falling in love is a beautiful thing. Your child getting married, potentially raising a family, that's a beautiful thing. And you and your homophobic family for not wanting to be a part of your brother's life.
I experience a lot of brokenness in my life. And if I were to say that my experience is my identity, then that would mean that I'm broken.
Once again, this entire argument relies on the church's understanding that being attracted to somebody of the same sex is, as the church says, direct disorder. There's not a single person out there who hates themselves in principle for being attracted to members of the opposite sex.
All of us have something in our lives that we hate about ourselves.
What? Yes, I agree that millions of queer people, especially those growing up in homophobic, dangerous institutions, feel shame about things, and it's because of talks like this. So what's the solution? One is evidence-based solutions. Accepting oneself, learning how to build a healthy life, learning how to build a happy relationship, living life to the fullest extent. But what he's telling you to do here is that you should really just be happier, that you're being forced by the church to be celibate for the rest of your life, that you can never fall in love with anybody else. And if you ever do that, you're going to be shunned by the church and sent to hell.
We've taken this huge concept of love, we reduced it to romantic love. And we've taken this concept of romantic love and reduced it to sex.
You already admitted that one of God's designs for sex is for bonding between partners, so where are we going?
But there's a deeper love. The Greeks called philia. friendship. It's a more fulfilling love than eros.
Catholics love making these, well, there's 4 types of love arguments. And it's just dumb because obviously there's difference between friendship and romantic love. Well, I mean, sometimes I get a little bit confused. But you don't get married to your friends or build families with your friend.
In friendship, so much greater than eros, so much greater than romance, so much more life-giving, and so much more like Christ's love.
This is a really nice way of saying that straight couples can have amazing friendships and they can also marry people to whom they're attracted. But gay people can only ever have friendships and never actually fall in love with somebody. That's why this entire thing is deceptive and manipulative, because this is all the facade of the same harmful church teachings.
I cannot wait for the day when the church canonizes the first known homosexual man or homosexual woman saint who dedicated their lives to living chastely. The amazing thing is this, that person, that saint could be in this room.
This is a really convoluted way of saying, if you want to go to heaven, don't be gay. But as a consolation prize, we'll put up a poster of you and you can be a role model for all the other closeted teens out there. Now, what you're not hearing in this talk, and that he is purposefully leaving out, is that he is flipping love the sin or hate the sin thing on its head, so that all you hear in this talk is, be friends and you're awesome. What he is doing is telling teens that are in these harmful institutions who hate themselves, feel alone, saying, well, just be happier about it, because you don't have to say no to your desires, you just have to say yes to other things like loving God, which then still mean that you have to say no to things. He's just wrapping a pile of harmful, crappy beliefs in a bow and calling it a present and asking why you're not happy to receive it. But on a serious note, to the outside world, this might not seem convincing. He's talking to a bunch of scared, self-hating, closeted teens living in a dangerous, harmful, homophobic institution, and oftentimes are worried about getting kicked out of the church and out of their families, and trying to pad a 2x4 that he's still gonna hit you in the head with. If you're dealing with and exploring your queer identity as a Catholic, it is a very lonely path, but what I can tell you, as somebody who is thoroughly in the church, daily mass, daily rosary, daily adoration, I was going to go off to become a Carmelite monk. Things do get better over time, and you will learn one day to be able to love yourself, I promise you. This video isn't meant to be a complete refutation, and it would take a long time to actually break down all of this crazy language that they're using, and this is why nobody on YouTube can actually break down Catholic content, because it's so complex, and words don't mean what you think that they mean from an outside perspective, and I'm more than happy to actually break down what is wrong with theology of the body and teleology. And if there's any other crazy Catholic videos out there that you want me to react to, leave a comment down below. And remember, love wins.